All right, folks, let's talk about what's really going on in cybersecurity here in Australia. The 2024 State of the Australian Cybersecurity Industry report just dropped. And look, if you've been feeling like cyber's been getting a bit out of control lately, this report pretty much confirms it. The numbers are starting to reach another level. Let's start with this. 47 million breached records in 2024. That's not a typo. That's up from 4.1 million the year before. So yeah, that's more than a tenfold increase. That's like going from a backyard barbecue to a stadium fire in 1 year. To give you some perspective, do the maths. That's around 1.5 Australian accounts compromised every second last year. Not every day, not every hour, every second. And that's not just small leaks here and there. We're talking about mega breaches, anything over 1 million people, and those have doubled in the last 5 years. What's worse is nearly a third of those went undetected for over 30 days. That's a full month where attackers were just in there, roaming around your network. Now, what about critical infrastructure? The stuff that keeps the lights on, hospitals running, and phones connected. Australia is now number 4 in the world for attacks on critical infrastructure. We weren't even in the top 5 last year. We've leapfrogged countries to sit just behind the US, Sweden, and Germany. That's not the kind of ladder we want to be climbing. And it's not just the volume of attacks, it's the type. DDoS attacks, adversary in the middle, brute force, credential abuse. It's all happening, and it's getting more sophisticated every year. So what's the cost of it all? Globally, cybercrime costs over $9 trillion in 2024. That's a trillion with a T. It's about 15 times higher than it was back in 2016. If cybercrime was a country, it'd have one of the biggest economies in the world. And the most common entry point? Still classic, reliable, low-effort phishing. Globally, 8.9 million phishing incidents last year, and a lot of those led straight to credential theft, because once they've got your login, everything else is up for grabs. Which brings us to the credential stuffing problem, and it's a big one here in Australia. A local security firm, Peak Hour, found that over 19,000 Australian account credentials were floating around for sale on the dark web last year. Big name brands were targeted. We're talking major retail, logistics, telcos, all of them. You probably use them. The attacks were using bots, residential proxy networks, automated scripts, and they're not even trying to be stealthy anymore. The success rate might be around 2%, but if you're hitting millions of logins with bots, that's still thousands of working accounts every day. And once you're in, good luck. These breaches go unnoticed for months. Most businesses only finding out because someone tells them, or worse, a customer does. Governance is still playing catch up. Now, there's something that doesn't get enough attention, the cyber risk at the board level. The report points out many of us in the field already know boards are now personally liable for cyber risks under Australian law, and a lot of directors still don't have the skills to properly understand those risks. It's like giving someone a steering wheel of a truck with no idea how to use the brakes. That governance gap is dangerous and it's closing too slowly. If your board still thinks cyber is an IT problem, then mate, it's time for a wake-up call. Now on the legislative side, big moves in 2024. We finally have a Cybersecurity Act, the first of its kind in Australia. It introduces things like baseline security rules for smart devices, no more default passwords, proper update policies, and the power to ban or recall dodgy gear. Mandatory reporting for ransomware payments for businesses turning over more than $3 million a year. But don't worry, this info can't be used against you, it's protected. The idea here is to understand the threat, not punish the victim. We've got a new National Cyber Coordinator. Think of them as the conductor for national scale incidents. And a Cyber Incident Review Board. They investigate big breaches and issue lessons learned. No fault model like the ATSB does for plane crashes. It's a more mature, collaborative approach, and honestly, it's long overdue. Then there's the SOCI Amendment of 2024, which tightens the screws on critical infrastructure. It includes bringing cloud and data center providers under regulation, giving the government stronger info gathering powers in major emergencies, folding telco security under the same framework, streamlining things a bit. It's all part of the move to treat cyber like a national resilience issue, not just a tech one. Let's talk about the money side for a sec. Australia's cyber industry hit $6.13 billion in 2024. That's nearly a 10% growth year on year, contributing 0.35% to GDP, and it's not slowing down. Interestingly, while services still dominate the sector, cyber product companies are growing faster. Think software, platforms, threat detection tools. Those are scaling hard. But not everything is rosy. Not a single Australian cyber startup got VC funding from a local investor last year. Most of the big money came from the US, and even then, it was mostly in late-stage companies. So we've got innovation, but local funding isn't keeping pace. This is a risk for future capability and IP ownership. Here's where the rubber hits the road. We had around 137,000 people working in the cyber-related roles in 2024, up nearly 10% from the year before. But get this, the job listings for cyber-related hybrid roles skyrocketed by 290%. In contrast, specialist cyber roles actually dropped a bit. What that tells me is that organisations are pushing cyber tasks to broader IT and compliance roles, and probably trying to do more with the people they've already got. This is not necessarily bad, but it means training and upskilling matter more than ever. If you're not investing in your staff, you're gonna fall behind. And on the positive side, women now make up about 25% of the cyber workforce, and around half of all new entrants. That's a massive increase, especially when you consider that it was only 24% the year before for new entrants. We're not there yet, but the pipeline is starting to look a lot healthier. So what does this all mean? Well, we've got exploding breach numbers and attackers getting faster, smarter, and bolder. A workforce that is growing, but not fast enough to meet demand. New laws that are trying to catch up and bring businesses, government, and tech on the same page. A funding and investment gap that risks choking local innovation. And a government shift that's pulling cyber squarely into the boardroom whether directors are ready or not. The theme here is pretty clear. Cyber is no longer a technical problem. It's an economic, legal, and national security issue. Everyone has a role to play, from frontline defenders to boards and regulators. And if you're watching this thinking, this all sounds a bit overwhelming, well, yeah, it is. But it's also fixable. It starts with awareness, investment in skill, and building security into everything we do, not just tacking it on at the end. All right, I'll leave it there, but if you want to deeper dive into any parts of the report, let me know down in the comments. And if you're in leadership, now's the time to ask, what are we going to do different in 2025? Thanks everyone, stay safe and stay secure.